We'll call the meeting to order and take the pledge of flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go through additions to the agenda. Any?
No.
Amy?
No.
Paul?
No.
Christie?
No.
Myself, I got the water board. It's a bridge update and a letter from the Historical Society on that capsule. So with that, do I have a motion to approve the additions to the agenda, the bills and the meetings of the last minute?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say yes.
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 Opposed, motion carries. Employee time. Like we don't have any. Jason, you wanna give us an update on the Tucking Point?
Sure. Good morning.
Morning, David.
In this package, you should have seen the price we got, the only company that has lots of experience, the historical nature of the courthouse. We're doing for washing and tuck pointing that we need. Their bid came in at $158,650, which is less than we had budgeted for. If we approve this today, they can be here as soon as June on their schedule to get it all cleaned up and pointed and tucked up. We do have water that's falling out that needs to be repaired, so the sooner we can get them here to do that, the better. So just looking for a motion to approve
Is
this.
this the same company that did last time?
I believe so, yes.
Same company?
Yep.
Paul,
Do you know how long it's been? Maybe
well,
10 years or?
I would work safe.
From what I understand, so.
Gotta be 10 years at least.
Mr. Chairman, and we did include this in the budget.
Yes, this is in the budget. It actually came in as less than what we had in the budget for it, so that doesn't happen very often.
Well, do I have a motion to accept the bid on the Tucking Point?
So,
Second,
I'll second.
got a motion and a second to approve the Tucking Point bid. Denny,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Christie,
Yeah.
Amy,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries.
Thank you. You want?
Might as well do your other updates and all you're there. Go ahead.
We met with the city of Minto this morning discussing the Minto Bridge. Nothing was really decided with it. We just came to conversations. We're gonna meet next week at the water board meeting, about 9 o'clock. This is where the tentative agenda is right now. Then hopefully we'll have a decision on where we're going at this point. We do have one business that is interested in putting some money towards the project. But we're just attentive at this point in time. And the water board and the highway department or the county will have it there, our 60-40 split that we have, so.
The biggest issue they still had, and we addressed that, was responsibility moving forward. We told them it's a county bridge, it's on a water due. And they asked if we'd sign an agreement on that, and we said, well, I said, I don't know, we'll share it anyway. I said, I have no problem, and the water board don't either. I mean, it's already our responsibility. It's just a matter of on a private deal, or if we wanna fix it or close it or whatever, but I think. Just listening this morning in the last couple of meetings, I think we'll be able to come to some terms and get it. We wanna get the steel ordered as quick as we can, so.
That was 47,000?
43,
Yeah, probably be closer to 47, but
Yeah.
yeah, add the extra steel, yeah.
we added those extra clamps that'll bring it up some.
Yep.
And they were okay with that.
And it will pass inspection, when it's done.
Well, he just told me this morning, now we got a new inspection company coming, so I said, what happens to all these ones we've paid buku bucks for? And all of a sudden, the new company's coming in with new guys. Could change in a hurry,
I know, that's
scary.
Yeah, the new firm is GFT, they're a nationwide firm, they're in about 31 states and a couple of provinces. The closest offices they have to here are in Michigan and in Illinois, from what I looked at. Unless I missed something, but
I don't know if you've had a chance to talk to them or whatever, so if they come and inspect our bridges, are we gonna get the same crew? instead of a different crew every time.
I don't know, I haven't spoken to him at all yet.
See if you can find that out. That's half the trouble.
Yeah.
And
Inspections will start in April, we'll have the first two going in, so. Then we have 135 this year,
170,000.
35. Yeah,
Mr. Chair, and I know Jason, when we went to the county and met with DOT and you were able to show them pictures, I just would encourage you to keep doing a good job with that because
well,
when they can't refute and can't even say, we don't know why there was a change in inspection, I just feel like as Walsh County, we're doing everything we can to at least prove, what, instead of it's our word against theirs, so.
anytime that we have any issues, we have a good working relationship with DOT, Grand Forks and the state, local government, we're gonna do my best to maintain where we're at, so. We all know we have issues and we're trying to get through it, so.
you wanna update us on the blades during the snow if we get it and our blade not coming?
Yeah, our new motor grader we ordered last July is in Grand Forks. Was scheduled to be delivered on Thursday of this week. With this upcoming storm, we pushed it back a week, so that we have more time. Also, when they sent the pre-inspection pictures of it on Friday, we noticed that we got the wrong front blade with it. So the front blade will still be coming, but we probably won't get that for 5 months, so we're moving some equipment around, so we'll be covered. Everything will run as is for this storm event, except for the fact that motor graders will only be doing gravel. With the temperature we've had in the last couple of weeks, everything's softened up, and we don't wanna create any other issues that we already have. So with what we have coming up, it'll be motor graders only on the gravel, we'll get through as fast as we can. Snowplow trucks will only be on pavement. And hopefully, it's more snow than rain. But the ice sheds are already,
And we got job interviews this afternoon, right?
that interviews this afternoon, 2 applicants.
Anything else?
Nothing on my end, unless you have any other questions for me.
Anybody got questions for Jason? Thank you. Is she in? Nope.
We're way ahead of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Things I can hand out to everybody. That's
okay,
okay.
you wanna go, Tanya?
Well, it's a resolution, I got stuff from Anne, so I'll hand it out while you're waiting for her next, right?
Maybe we should have some couple of the
Yeah.
smaller blade.
You can do that, don't you? You can go from there, once you- Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Christina, I did you want to? Thank you, yeah. So if you. Are you just gonna wait for Anne to come on, or do you want me to? Some of the things on what I just handed out to you are things that I could probably update you on. With regards to our audit schedule and. The drawdown schedule, so it's up to you if you wanna start with Anne, or if you would like me to cover those things, like.
But she's not on for what?
It's not on until 9:25,
Yeah.
right?
Why don't you give us an update? If you feel comfortable doing it.
Well, it's things that, related to this, but I can go ahead and update you on that a little bit, cause Anne wasn't. I was just gonna jump in after Anne and give you an update on things that, so late last week on Thursday, Christina and Christy and I were able to get on a conference call with iDaily regarding our audit schedule. And I'm looking at this top page that I gave you, right there where it says audit schedule. That's what I'm referring to. We were able to get a much more clear timeline established related to the completion of our audits. Which was really helpful information for us in terms of our financing approach, obviously. So the 2022 audit was submitted last week, roughly, right?
Yeah.
Like we did all of our submissions. They are pretty confident they're gonna have a preliminary audit report for us ready by the end of this month for 2022. And then a final audit report ready by the end of March end of next month. As far as the 2023 and 2024 audits, it looks like there's two different ways we could approach this. They did feel there might be some value in looking at a modified cash approach for 2023 and 2024. And if we did that, it would be a combined 2-year audit. And if we didn't, it would be separate still 2023, 2024. So 2023 timeline would be, it'll take approximately 3 months to complete with an anticipated start date of May, tentative July completion date. And then if we kept them separate, 2024 would be done by the end of December. I give you a little bit more information there, but it's either way, it's looking like we would have a preliminary 2023 report sometime in the July-August timeline. And that is when Anne had confirmed with us, she spoke with the Bank of North, or the CFP through the state of North Dakota, and they are gonna want a preliminary 2023 audit report in order to issue bonds for us. So Anne will probably talk more about that piece of it. I'm gonna let her do that. But that was kind of the information we needed to know if, where we were standing with all of that information. So the back page of this first page that I gave you, there's a lot of information here. Is the drawdown schedule from construction engineers. So that kind of spells out the timeline of when they would be expecting projected payments to come through. So that's just an overview of everything. It shows that by end of 2026, it would be just under 6 million would be projected payouts. They are recommending that he gave us a lot of information here from construction engineers, but this black box is the one that is the realistic timeline in his mind, the numbers that are in the black box. In terms of when pay would be required. I asked Anne a lot of questions relating to the bonding process. That takes approximately a month from the time that we apply to them, until the time that they issue the bonds. And so it's looking like we could probably apply for those bonds in like August, September, and we would receive them approximately a month later. So that's with the projected timelines. It looks like we would be within the timelines that we need in order to have the funds available to make the payments. So.
Mr. Chairman, so like Tanya said, I was part of this, these conference calls, and in a nutshell, I mean, Ideally was very, very good to work with. We told them the situation that we're in with the financing and the fact that we need these audits completed. They're very willing to work with us. I feel like the timelines have all fallen into place. We should be just fine. I don't think there should be any grave concern here anymore after talking to Ideally and then getting the drawdown from construction engineers.
Mr. Chairman, they are aware that the Tyler transfer, that the move to Tyler happened in 23?
Yes, they are, very aware.
They talked about that in specific, actually, yeah.
Not concerned. I mean, they think they can do that in 3 months.
Yep, we talked about that. They are aware that it's going to be not great. They know that because that's already what they've been dealing with, because all of the 2022 audit was done in the old system, and that's been part of the challenge is that gathering that data has been extra challenging because nobody we have on staff right now worked with that program extensively. So we specifically asked that question. I was worried about that as well, knowing that 2023 year is gonna be messy with transition.
Any other questions for Tanya?
In this stack of papers that you have, Anne had shared, obviously a ton of information, and I'm gonna let her talk about all of it. I don't think she'll probably explain to you what each of these papers is. She's not gonna, walk through this with you line by line, but she wanted you to have an abundance of information to understand where she's getting her numbers, so that's why you have such a stack of papers, so. I will let Anne, dig into all of that.
Well, are you done?
Yeah,
I guess, maybe, I don't know if this is a question for you or for Ann, but
yeah,
it was my understanding that we have to have our audits done through 2024. To do the bonding,
Mhm.
is that changed?
Yeah, I'll let Ann answer that, but yes, she has been in contact with. I don't know the acronyms well enough to know what they stand for, so I'm gonna let her answer the question, but yes, I believe that she'll clarify that for you. Yeah. There was a lot of other information here that Ann she wasn't on the call with Bailey, that's why I figured I'd cover that piece of it, so that,
Sure.
you know, we're at least maybe ahead slightly with that part of it. And the drawdown schedule that Ron was able to get that from construction engineers, so. I can try to shoot Ann a message too and let her know that you're running with the schedule and see if she can go on and everything, but.
Thank you.
Yep.
We'll go to some of the other stuff while we got time. I'll update you on the water board. Jason and I met with the city council in Minto this morning at 7 o'clock. We made some progress. There's one, I don't know if you call it a business or firm that's willing to participate in sharing with their expense. The city council is gonna come to the water board next week, Tuesday, to talk it over. But their biggest concern moving forward, and we pretty much told them this morning that bridge is county responsibility and water board. So they don't have any worry about moving forward. And they'd asked if we sign an agreement, and I talked to the water board this morning, went to their meeting and updated them, and they don't have a problem, Jason don't, so hopefully, I think we're gonna be coming to a conclusion next week. And get that thing moving so we can order steel and move forward with it, so. So that's about all on that one. On the Historical Society, I got a letter from them. Regarding that time capsule, and basically, they're gonna switch or send us a sort of a kit. That'll give us some instructions of what to do, and then on July 6th, there will be like a dedication for the time capsule. So they're just asking us to participate. They gave me a list of cities here. If you wanna look at them, or communities that, you know, maybe should be invited in the time capsule. So there's about, I don't know if you want me to read them all, there's 16 of them. So if you wanna see this list, I'll just read them. Adams, Ardagh, Auburn, Edinburgh, Fairdale, Fordville, Forest River, Grafton, Hoople, Lincoln, Minto, Nash, Park River, Peasic, Veseyville, and Voss. So if you think one should be in there that isn't, let us know. So. Otherwise, that's the update on the Historical Society. So once we get our kit, we can see what they want us to do. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, but you said July 6th is the date.
16th, they're gonna dedicate it. No, July 7th. And they were asking, you know, where do you want it or whatever, and I said, well, I don't know. And to me, the best place should be the Historical Society. So I don't know, we can address that later too, but
So I'm out of town that week, so.
what's that?
I said I'm just out of town that week. Good.
So. Any questions you can here, read it. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Ann, you're on board.
All right, good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Morning.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So I thought that this morning I would kind of start with sales tax collection estimates, and then we'll talk about the project financing scenarios. I don't necessarily think we need to go through preliminary schedules, but if you have them, just so that you can look at them, and if you have any questions, that's great. So I'll try to touch on everything that we have updated Tanya and Christy with in the last few weeks. So sales tax collection estimates, what we have been working with over the last few years are accurate. We've been going off of what the county has been producing with the 0.25% sales tax for EMS, and of course the 0.75% sales tax is then 3 times that, and so we are estimating based on 2025 numbers that will generate about $1.132 million. Obviously, if there is a little bit of growth or, you know, if that fluctuates a little bit, that can change, but that's what we're going off of based on the last several years. So that's the bottom line with how much we're working with the sales tax. So then that'll bring us into the funding scenarios. We are working with the $23.6 million budget. Our thought is that we would first issue, or the county would first start going through the cash that you have set aside for the project. Obviously, we are working with a delayed audit schedule, and it's really difficult to get capital if you don't at least have audits somewhat up to date. So the thought is that we would have the county go through the cash first as you start collecting invoices. And then we would issue a portion of the sales tax bonds through the community facilities program. And that is through the North Dakota Public Finance Authority. And I talked to Deanne Ament. She's the one that administers that program over at the state. I talked to her last week. So she's been aware of this project already for the last year or two. And so she's ready. Whenever the county is ready to apply, she's ready to go through the application and take it to the Industrial Commission. And so the first, or the thought is to do about 11 million or so through the CFP as the initial bonding portion. And the reason why we're doing this in chunks is because I would like the county to apply for a loan through the infrastructure loan fund. And that next application period is not until the end of 2026. So as long as you can, with the draw schedule, you can make it to the end of 2026 or the beginning of 2027 with the cash, and then the approximately 11 million that we plan to issue through the CFP for sales tax, then I think it's great to wait for that 2% money from the infrastructure loan fund. And as I was telling Tanya last week, if then, excuse me, I'm struggling with a cold the last few weeks, and so I apologize for my voice, but if then in 2027, when the legislature meets again, they add funds to the infrastructure loan fund, I think then it is possible to also apply for the portion that would be paid from the capital projects fund levy through the infrastructure loan program. So that's kind of the best case scenario, and why we would leave 5 million of sales tax bonds and then also the capital projects fund bonds kind of towards the end of when you actually need funds. So that's why we would start with the cash and then the chunk of the sales tax revenue bonds that would be sold through the CFP. So if you have those project funding scenarios in front of you, I'm looking at the portion that has 3 chunks. So you'll see the estimated project sources. I have capital projects fund levy bonds, the sales tax bonds that are going through the CFP or the community facilities program, and then the sales tax bonds if we were able to go through B&D. So you will see in the bottom left-hand corner, the sources. Yes?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I don't know what you're referring to or what you're looking at, but Tanya gave us these handouts with.
So I would look at the one with 3 columns, but look down here and the one that says 22.6, okay? Very bottom.
Okay.
And then what she's talking about is the 11 million sales tax bonds. You'll see that the first column there says 11, because then she would do the 5 million on the very far right column is the one that we would get through Bank of North Dakota. There's a lot of, she gave us a lot of scenarios, so it's a lot to look at. I understand.
Yeah, so I understand that there are several moving pieces, but basically what I want you to derive from this is down in the bottom left, we have estimated project sources. So the CFP issued bonds this last fall on behalf of quite a few jurisdictions in North Dakota. And the rates that they received were really great, but since then, rates have decreased. And so we're seeing large premiums bid on bond issues. So the amount that we're estimating that you would have towards the actual project down in that bottom left hand is if you issue 11 million or so through the CFP, towards the project, you'll get about 11.6 million or so. And that's because we anticipate that a premium will be bid on those bonds. Likewise, if we do have to do a capital projects fund levy bond through the CFP down the road, towards the end of this financing, we also project that we will receive a premium. And then through BND, since it's just a flat 2% rate, there's no premium bid through the Bank of North Dakota. That's about 4.96. So that just, there are some costs associated with issuing bonds or loans. And then with the $5 million in cash, it's about 23.6 million total. So on the left-hand side, the left column, so it's like the yellower color, you'll see the capital projects fund bonds. If we are able to issue through the CFP, that 11, and then 5 million through BND, the amount of your capital projects fund levy, I know that initially we had talked about using 10 mils. Because interest rates have come down, and also if we were able to get 2% money, I'm estimating that you'll only have to use about 2.22 mils of that capital projects fund levy. So long as rates stay low and we're able to get some of that low interest financing through BND, you won't have to use your entire 10 mil capital projects fund levy to finance the 23.6. So I wanted to especially let you know that rates have improved since we've started working on this project, even since last summer. They're trending in a positive direction. And so you'll actually have to use less resources. So your 0.75% sales tax that voters approved is going to get you a lot further in this project. And if rates were to continue decreasing by the time that we actually issue, there's a chance that you could finance the entire project just through the 0.75% sales tax. So obviously right now that's not the case, but you know, a 2.22 mils is what I'm projecting through the capital projects fund that you would have to use. So it's a great improvement from the 10 mils. I know it's a lot of information. Are there any questions that have popped up?
Mr. Chair, so Anne, it was voted up to 0.75. Do you have any scenarios where we don't use the full 0.75?
I do not. I can run scenarios. If you have an idea of, you know, if you would want to do a 0.5%, but I have not run any scenarios on less than the 0.75% sales tax, since that's what you guys are collecting right now.
Yeah, I mean, I own a business and live in the two largest communities in this county, and we're feeling it, like it's a lot. So I guess I would definitely be for being able to see a scenario where we didn't have to go that full 0.75.
Mr. Chair, can we change that midway through the project? Drop it from,
It says up to 0.75%, so as far as where we get funding from, that's nothing that's really been determined. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to change that depending on the scenarios, if we wanna look at funding it from different sources. Cause we have that capital improvement projects levy, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree. I would I would like to see the sales tax reduced before we reduce our capital project mills. I mean, I think we already always had it that our capital project fund levy was at 10 mills and it was for this project. And then the sales tax was up to 0.75%. So if we could reduce the sales tax first. Or maybe we could do a combination of both. Because I know Paul had concerns about, in our capital project levy, if we take the full 10 mills, we don't have mills to work with to improve anything else. Say we need improvements in other infrastructure. So I wonder if we could look at a combination, because this is great new information with the rates coming down. To have it down to 2.22 mills is awesome, but I would guess I would prefer a combination. If we could see, could we back off on the sales tax a little bit and still have some wiggle room in our mills? If that makes sense.
Couldn't we even up our cash investment?
Well, that's what I've also been trying to get to the bottom of, is what cash do we actually have on hand that we could dedicate to this project? And I know Christina's trying to look into that. She's just had a lot on her plate, but we do know that we have some investments. We just have to make sure that they did come from the general fund, is my understanding. And if they did, then we could use those as well. So maybe we could put a little more money towards the project as well. Food for thought.
And I would note that the sales tax, any sales tax bonds can go out 30 years. Whereas any bonds that are issued against the capital projects fund levy are limited to 20 years. So when we start changing, I would just temper your expectations as to how much things will change, just because if you start reducing the sales tax, the amount that you can issue more quickly falls, because it's a 30-year financing over a 20-year. So your capital projects fund levy won't get you quite as far as the a sales tax change. So just so that you guys are aware of that.
Mr. Chair. So Anne, would an option be to, okay, say we didn't reduce the sales tax, say we left it at the 0.75% right now to issue the bonds. Could we just use the full 10 mills to pay that down quicker? Would that be a safer route? Instead of reducing to 2.2 mills, say we're only using 2.2 mills, could we put more towards the loan essentially out of the 10 mills?
Towards the sales tax loan?
Yeah.
It's not a permissible use of funds from your capital projects fund levy to pay sales tax bonds.
Okay.
So the capital projects fund levy will either pay for permissible capital projects, or then the bonds that are securing or that are secured by the capital projects fund levy. Does that make sense?
I'm not sure.
So I think it is possible to reduce what we're using with sales tax, because your dollars are going further. I didn't want to say that that's not possible. I just want to temper expectations, because I think sometimes we because we're like, oh yeah, this is great. Sometimes we can think that maybe the difference will be bigger than in our heads will be bigger than what it actually would be. So if you would like to see, if you have a number in the capital projects fund levy that you would like me to increase that portion to, so let's say, for example, that you want to use 7 mills or 7.5 mills, I can run those numbers up to 7.5 mills and then run the other portions, the sales tax, basically the remainder of what we could issue outside of the capital projects fund levy. And then we can get a total debt service there. And of course, you have to, on these sales tax bonds, we do have to have a 1.2 times coverage for B&D, and then 1.25 for the CFP. And what that just means is you need to be collecting at the time that we issue, the projections need to be 1.25 times what the debt service is on the bonds. Does that make sense? That will just kind of back into what you would need with sales tax?
Yes.
So a couple of questions, so you just mentioned the 1.25 and the 1.2 coverage, is that included in your numbers that you presented here? I'm assuming it is.
Yes, yes.
My next question is, I just wanna be clear on, you went from 10 mils to 2.22 mils.
Hmm.
And you're attributing that all to lower interest rates?
And the valuation, the taxable value of the county went up about 3 million. So 1 mil brings you more money now.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a significant decrease in mills, that's
it is.
shocking.
It is. And interest rates have been moving in a favorable direction for the last 6 months or so. So that's also a very positive thing. And that the other great thing is that the CFP doesn't issue very often. And so since they issued this fall, because it would be the same credit that the PFA would be using, you know, the state's credit rating, we had a great comparable for how investors and underwriters are bidding on bonds that the CFP is issuing. So because they hadn't issued in a while before when we were doing projections, those projections were probably a little bit conservative, which is good. But we had a great comparable from this fall when the CFP actually issued.
So should we do a scenario of the county putting in more of our reserves? Bet you that'll change in the big time.
Are you talking cash?
Mhm.
Well,
I mean,
we
just
have to know,
scenario.
we have to know what cash we would have available to put towards it.
Don't have any idea yet.
Well, we have the 5 million in like capital improvements and capital projects levy.
Which we're already using. That's already being used in here, the 5 million.
Yeah, and then the general fund balance was at 3.9 million at the end of last year.
So if we went to our reserves, how much could we?
Well, and then we have CDs in the roughly 2 million, right?
Mhm.
Short-term CDs, investments, that's what I'd like to look at and possibly part of our carryover in our general fund, because to me, that's what that money is for your infrastructure and for your out of the ordinary expenses. But do we need to? We don't, you know, right now we're at a situation, I mean, this is great news, what you're bringing us on, really great news. We're not in a situation where we have to use those funds, but we could, why not? What are we sitting on?
Well, I always, Karen, don't get mad when I say it, the state has a lot of money in the sitting on it, well, we've got some money there. To me, what a better way than use that money, so we don't have to use the sales tax for stretched out there, maybe we can go down to that 0.25.
Mhm.
That's my opinion, as quick as we can get money up front and lower everything for the tax year. I mean. I'll pass the commissioners before me, and Paul was on the board way back when, and me, we've been pretty frugal and have some money there that we can use. And to me, it's time to use it. Especially if we can make this thing work and get it down there that's cost efficient and we're not hurting everybody in the county with sales tax either. So that's just my opinion. So,
I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
yep. So I don't know if you wanna figure something, let's just, it's pretty hard, but sounds like we got $5 to $6, $7 million. Put that in there, and see what that'd change these numbers.
Not much.
Is that including the 5 million that you already have?
No,
Or is that an additional?
draw out of our CDs or whatever, we must have 5 million we can
I
touch.
think that's getting a little
I don't know.
aggressive.
Yes, I think 5 million is aggressive, I would agree
Okay.
with that, because everything in our towns. Everything is earmarked for a specific fund, so we cannot pull money out of CDs or savings if it's designated to a different fund balance. And so we need to look at what money is in the general fund that's extra, and then if there's anything designated to other funds that we don't need anymore, that we can transfer to the general fund so that you can
have the discretion to use it if you want to.
Well, I would
Would we be comfortable with 2 million?
do it,
I
yeah,
was gonna say 2 to 3.
or anything that we can come up with that we can use, I'd be all for using it.
So what I'm hearing is instead of 5 million, we can run a scenario of 7 million and then also 8 million of cash.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Paul, you have something?
You wanna answer her question?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay. And then do you also have a number of mills for your capital projects fund levy that you would like to dedicate towards the project?
Instead of that 2.25,
Right, so if, let's say it's 5 mills or 7 mills, then it can kind of combine even the added cash plus using more of the capital projects fund levy, and then we can see where you land with the sales tax. Does
Well,
that make
okay.
sense?
yeah, everybody feel comfortable with 5? Oh,
This may be a good place for me to jump in, this is good news, I guess, it's surprising to me, well, how this looks, I'd like to see us lower the sales tax, like Amy said. How about a scenario where we go to a 1/4 cent sales tax? You put, I don't know, cash on hand, I have no idea. I have to, if you guys think there's cash on hand,
yeah,
but just for example, if you went to a 1/4 cent sales tax. And how many mills would we be at that way? In other words. The sales tax is our fixed number and the mills is our,
adjustable number.
right, the number we're
Yeah.
trying to back into. That's just one scenario.
So like
that
a reduced project amount, is that what you're meaning? Basically, so if we use 0.25% for sales tax, I think for sure we would have to use 10 mills for the capital project fund levy. And so that you're looking for what is a reduced project size if we only use 0.25% sales tax, because we won't be able to get to the 23.6.
Well, you just answered my question then, because that wasn't really necessarily my intent. My intent was if we went to a 1/4 cent sales tax. Would the capital, but would the 10 mills cover it? You're saying it wouldn't.
No. If you would like, I can show you what you would produce with a 0.25% and 10 mills in the capital projects fund levy. If you would like to see that, I can definitely show you that. It will be a reduced project amount though.
And assuming there's no appetite for that.
Is there a,
It's not possible.
so it seems like we're always talking like 0.25 to 0.5 to 0.75. So if we run these numbers, is there some place where we could go to between the 2.5 and the 5? Say 0.35?
Yeah, maybe it is. Yep, so if we run a $7 million in cash or $8 million in cash, we increase the capital projects fund levy to 7 mills. You probably will land somewhere. It's probably not going to be a flat 2.5 or 0.25 or a 0.5 or it probably will land somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Just because we would be using or we would be funding with the remainder or the net amount after the cash and after using 5 mills or 7 mills, for example, out of the capital projects fund levy.
And it's helpful, for all of this is really helpful. I appreciate being able to talk to you as a commission because this is eye-opening for me in terms of seeing all of these scenarios. From the sales tax percentage, I've talked to some of the taxpayers and I understand that gives us longer, but that is more painful to me because the city of Grafton is at like 9.5%. So, I mean, why would anyone buy a car in this town, let alone our farmers buy a combine at that tax rate? I mean, we have to look at like the big picture of how this is affecting day to day. And if it's 20 to 30 years out, to me, that not only kills small business potential, it's just, it's it's a painful thing for me to consider as a small business owner, so I really do appreciate us looking at alternative scenarios to bring that down as a priority.
Paul, did you have something?
Yeah, and you offered to send me that. Scenario, I'd like to see that at a 1/4 cent sales tax. And 10 mils, I'd like to see how much debt that would cover.
Okay,
You can send that to me later, I don't need it right now.
Send it to all commissioners. Thank you.
I have a question on the audit. You have a question for her on the audit?
Oh. It was my understanding that. You know, prior to this meeting, we had to have our audit. Updated through 2024, and that has changed now, is that right?
yes, so I talked to the PFA last week, so that's the state program that would be issuing on your behalf. And she said, so that's Deanne Ament, she would be comfortable as long as you had a draft, some sort of draft of 2023. At the time that you apply, she's comfortable with proceeding with the bond issue. So she is not requiring through 2024. If you would go in the open market, we would for sure need to have through 2024 done. And then the other side is BND. So initially Kylie said this fall that as long as you have through, I think she said 2022 done, she would entertain an application for the infrastructure loan program. Now, obviously, we would be a year later, so presumably Kylie would say you need at least through 2023. She is, I know with other entities, I have talked to her recently, and she has BMD is kind of tightening up their requirements for financial statements. So she has told another entity that we just talked to in the last 2 weeks that they would basically only be able to be a year delinquent. So she may require by the end of this year, she may require through 2024 when we would apply. And my understanding, I think Christina or Tanya or someone can talk about the timing of the audits and what Bailey has told them. But my assumption or what I've understood is that by January 2027, hopefully you will be caught up through 2024.
So does that modification affect the interest rate that we would pay?
No.
Okay.
Because it's the state that is giving you grace on those
Okay.
audits. Yep.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Steve?
So I guess listening to all this, and again, thank you, Anne, wonderful news today. And if you all remember, Anne did present to us before. She has presented the financial information to us before. I know there's been some concern or some talk that I don't know where we're at in financing, but she did present. But we had new information to present based on interest rates and everything else. My thing is I think as a commission, we need to decide what we're willing to do. Do we want to use cash? How much cash do we want to use? Additional cash on top of the 5 million I'm talking. Because without some clear direction for Anne, I don't know how she's gonna run these numbers. What's our goal? Do we want to continue to use the full 10 mils in the capital project levy? Or do we want to reduce that so we have some wiggle room so that we have some money for ongoing infrastructure needs? And how much wiggle room do we want in there? Do we want to drop it to 5 mils, 7 mils, 8 mils? What are we looking at? I mean, it all sounds great to reduce our sales tax, and I'm all for reducing the sales tax. But I think if we back off on it too much, we're going to have some problems. We can't reduce the amount, the project amount that's been set. So I think Anne needs some direction from us on actually what we want to do.
Any?
We've got to remember, we've got the sheriff's office too, that we're gonna have a big bill on what we do there. I don't see that we can use the full 10 mils on this one project. I'd be comfortable with half. I would say 5 mils and 5%, say 6. Or
0.5,
0.5.
and the difference in cash.
Yeah. $7, 7 million, if we can put that in,
Are you talking,
including the 5, that's already.
Christine, are you comfortable with an additional 2 million? How about the rest of the commissioners?
Well, I guess I'm really not familiar enough with our cash on hand and what that money's earmarked for to sit here and say I'm comfortable putting another 2 million. I mean, I'm all for finding ways to lower this, but I'm not sure I can sit here and say I'm comfortable with another 2 million. I don't think I have enough information.
Well, Mr. Chair, and I mean, we just were given this is a lot of information, so I'm not comfortable sitting here today to say how we wanna direct, like, I'd like to see and send what Paul requested in terms of what those numbers would look like. Cause I just think it's a lot to see, digest, and make a decision on in 30 minutes.
And Mr. Chair, so could we ask Ann to give us,
More than one scenario.
yeah, a couple scenarios, say half of, or not half, 0.5% sales tax. And then tell us how many mills, and could we just use the 2 million for now, the additional 2 million for now? We have 3.9 million carryover in our general fund. I think we should be investing those funds or doing something with them, a portion of them. And plus we have the 2 million in short-term CDs that we're pretty confident can be used. So that's 4 million, so all I'm asking for is 2 million right now, an additional 2 million. I'm just saying to run a scenario,
Right, and since we have to wait for the audits anyway, you have time to make this decision. You have time to figure out if you're going to, at least you know that voters approved 0.75% sales tax. You know that already. You know that you can get there with the 0.75% and with what you have with the capital projects fund levy. So any adjustments that we make would be kind of like trending downwards. So you know that you can get there. And so if you as a commission decide that we would like to use more cash, we would like to use more capital projects fund levy, it's okay to make those adjustments. And you have time to do that. It's not going to make or break the financing.
Oh,
I think that's a good point. We do have some time. We can think about this. I can't imagine a scenario where I would support transferring $2 million out of the general fund. I don't think the general fund can take that. The other thing is if you wanna lower the cost, the easiest way to lower the cost is let's at least have a conversation about the size. If you lower the number of beds, make it so it's expandable. I mean, that would go a long ways towards making this make more financial sense. And I know nobody wants to talk about that.
I think Ron is.
My point is it would bring down the price, getting us closer to the goal. And make, and in 15 years, we might have to add 10 beds, but we might not.
Well, we've got the information. but-
Ron was looking into it, so. Ron,
I got an answer.
Yeah.
I talked to the architect, and I asked him a scenario, we cut 10 beds down to 35 beds and down to 25. He said, taking 10 beds off of that project will save you about $100,000. 20 beds would save you about 200,000. He said, you're talking thousands of dollars, not millions of dollars.
Okay, there's the answer.
Can you explain why? It's.
The beds are the easy part to chop, but you still have the rest of the infrastructure of the building that you're gonna have anyway, no matter how big it is. If you're gonna have to have, since we're not grandfathered in anymore, you're gonna need a rec area. Since you're not grandfathered in, you're gonna need a programming area. You still need the same operating systems that you would have, in a 46 bed as you would have in a 25 bed jail, so that's why.
I have quite a follow-up question for Ron. Are you talking about $100,000 or $100,000 per bed?
No, total. And he said, there's no scenario you could get that you could cut millions of dollars off of that if you're cutting beds.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
One, this is later in our agenda, but it does tie into this when we talk about priorities. So between a priority for me, which we talked about, we can't afford, but yes, we can afford this. A priority for me to apply for this loan infrastructure fund, to be a conduit between me and department heads who, I'm sorry, but them not personally have investment is not accurate. I would like a professional.
Hey, we got somebody talking here, Chris.
I would like a professional between us and our employees. It would make me feel a lot better. Our employees are fantastic. I'm not saying anything about that, but it would sure make me feel better here to have someone neutral within all of this sit here and tell us those words, like those specific words when we talk about cost. I would like to see us make a county administrator a priority then in terms of funding, so we do have someone to work with. I don't like the thought of I'm defending myself, and I don't like my department heads and employees feel like they have to defend themselves to me, because that fractures relationships between us and our employees, no matter how you wanna spin it and say it doesn't, it does. So when we talk about putting more money to this project, I'm not opposed to that, but I don't want us to say, well, then we don't have money for a county administrator. I want that to be a priority when it comes to this overall picture. That would make me feel better moving forward with this whole project.
Amy, can I ask, where did we talk about putting more money towards this project?
Well, 2 more million from the general fund or old carryover.
Oh, just putting funds towards it. Oh, okay. I thought you meant like increasing the cost of the project.
No, I'm saying that we have talked about even last budget cycle, we don't have money we can't use carryover to fund a position. But we can put it towards the jail project. That is not a priority to me.
Okay, I think we're getting off topic here. I think this is about jail financing. I feel that we can talk about the county administrator when we get to that. I do have compliments on that as well. But I think as far as with Anne, what we were talking about, what scenarios do we want her to run for us?
Yep. I would, like Paul said, the one he said, and I'd agree with Denny, let's do the caps and sales tax and whatever cash we got and go from there. That'll give us 2.
And five mils out of it.
Right. But I feel we gotta keep that capital funds money there, you know, our buildings and everything that goes on here, so.
But the overall point that I'm making is we can do this. It's doable.
You have any more questions for us, Ann?
I don't think so. I think if I run the scenario that Paul asked for, I'll run the scenario where we will use or I can run the scenarios where you're using more cash and then see where the sales tax comes out. I can also run a 0.5% sales tax scenario and see where the capital projects fund levy comes out. Just so that you can see and you can have as much information as you need to make the decision that of how or what pieces, if we're going to move around any of the funding pieces between what we've already talked about. Does that sound good?
Yep.
I have one more question, please.
Christine?
And I have one more question for you,
Sure.
that I think we discussed briefly. Let's say we get into the following year, and like you said, Bank of North Dakota, or the legislature opens up more funds. Is it possible that we could apply for that 5 million this year and then say another 5 million the following year through the Bank of North Dakota, or am I off base on that?
Well, you could apply, but you would you would have had to not issue debt,
Okay, it
this,
depends on,
this year. Yeah, so it depends on how much you're issuing. Because we have a schedule for the project and a drawdown schedule, basically the question has been, how soon can we get funds, right? And so, if you determine, based on the drawdown schedule or the spend down schedule, that you can wait on a bigger chunk of the financing to see what the legislature does, of course, that's an option to do that. But if you need funds aside from the cash that you already have, you know, if that cash is going to be expended, and you need funds, then it makes sense to issue what you're going to need. So the thought was, though, with the capital projects fund portion, that we would also leave that for the end to see if you could possibly apply for additional funds through B&D and use that capital projects fund levy. So as you know, as the timing goes and as we iron out some of these details, you know, there is flexibility there. We can determine, you know, what will work based on when you need funding.
great, thank you.
Are you clear with what we want you to do, or any more
I
questions?
think so. Yep.
When's the
I think what I will do is run the scenarios, each one that we've talked about. So rather than having to have you decide what exactly, I'll just run several scenarios for you so that you can see what it looks like in the different ways that we've talked about.
The more information we can get, it'll make our decision clearer, that's for sure.
Yes,
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
you're welcome. Let me know if any other questions pop up.
Anybody need a break? You do? Yep. Okay, we're on pause for a little bit. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Tanya, you're up.
Kelly.
Or Kelly, I'm sorry. Geez, I don't wanna skip her, I'll be in trouble.
Good morning, so there's one provision in negotiating a contract or looking it over prior to, and it is a standard contract, so there's not a whole lot to be, but one of the things that came up was the contingency, the contractor contingency, and whether that is something, we should agree to or not for them to get 10% back of that contingency money if there's any left over, which usually there is some left over. So, basically that contingency, Tony kind of explained, Tony from Elevatus kind of explained it in the way that it's usually about 5 to 7% of the construction cost that is saved in this contingency fund, and that's something the construction manager has control over. So if we use round numbers on a $20 million project, at about a 5% contingency, it's about $1 million. And in their experience, at the end of the project, there's usually about 30 to 50% of that left. So awarding the 10% back to the construction manager at risk would be approximately $30,000 to $50,000. So, we decided, the jail committee in reviewing the contract decided that that should go to the whole commission to make a decision and give me some direction with respect to that. So that's why I'm here.
Any questions for Kelly?
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
I guess I would say just after, discussing this contingency. My first thoughts was, oh, we want all the money back, right? If there's any savings as a county, we want the money back. But then it was pointed out to me, and I love having conversations because this is how you learn. Somebody said, well, there's not as much incentive then for the construction engineers, the construction company, maybe to try to get you the absolute best deal possible. Now, I'm not gonna say that they wouldn't anyways, like, that's the name of their game, right? But should we be looking at them getting part of the contingency, because it's an incentive, is what it comes down to. And it wouldn't have to be 10%. And what did you say, Tony said, norm range is 5 to 7%?
Well, that's what the contingency fund is normally, 5 to 7%.
5 to 7%.
Of the total project cost.
Okay,
So they set aside this fund, the contingency fund, which is calculated by taking 5 to 7% of the total construction cost of the jail. So that 23 million, they take 5 to 7% of that and set that aside
okay,
as a contingency fund.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Well, what share of that would they get then? If
They
we
would get, so let's say that contingency fund ends up being approximately $1 million.
Mhm.
So they're looking, whatever is left of that $1 million in that contingency fund, they are asking to be awarded 10% of that, and the remaining 90% will go back to the county.
Okay, so
Does
it
that-
would be 10%, okay.
Yes. But that doesn't mean that we have to agree to 10% or 0% or 5%, I'm looking for direction to go back and essentially talk to them about the contract.
With that said, that you're aware of a standard with CMAR in terms of the percentage they do of this, or is 10% kind of considered, or you're
I
just saying?
honestly don't know. I know, Elevatus has indicated to us that he doesn't believe it's necessary for them to do their job. Jason has some experience with it. He says it works as an incentive and that, many times that is included in a contract. But I don't think it's necessary to the contract based upon what Tony Vi's saying from Elevatus, so.
Yeah, do I remember right, the Grand Forks did not do this,
I couldn't answer that.
since I read that.
I can certainly check into that with Grand Forks too.
Basically like tipping your waitress.
Yeah,
Can we,
in a
can we
way,
do that with taxpayer money? That's my concern.
Yeah, you take their bid and you hire them to do a job and then all of a sudden we gotta pay them a contingency. Yeah, I don't know, Jason?
It's becoming more of the norm in projects, a lot of times in bridges and different things to meet the criteria for. Goals to have a little bit more funding go towards contractors on different things. For the contingencies for CMARs from people I've spoken with, it ranges anywhere from 0 to 10, depends on the people. So it's just, there really isn't a standard on that aspect of it yet. The contingency standard is still that 5 to 7 for the entire project. Like Kelly said, if there's $1 million on that, we spent 700,000, that's only whatever percentage you look at would be about 300,000. So. $30,000 if you went with 10%. 15 if you went with 5%.
I just got a hard time swallowing this, to be honest. It's taxpayer dollars.
So you get it.
But I get the point. But we hire them to do a job, we expect them to do the job.
Kelly, we need to make this decision when we sign the contract, I'm assuming with that,
Well,
or
before we sign that contract.
before,
Yeah.
do we have time where you could check into Grand Forks and I could ask, because we have our CMA project uptown too, to see what they're doing with the incubator. From a percentage perspective, I don't know.
Oh,
I make a comment, is this like tipping them before they do their job? I mean,
yeah,
Exactly.
it doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
I
we'd
guess.
be tipping them at the end.
at the end of the, yeah.
But they know it.
Exactly.
Right.
If it's part of the contract, they
Hence,
know.
hence the incentive, right? Cause they know it ahead of time, not to use all that. That's. I'm not arguing either way,
Yeah.
I'm just letting you know what both sides are saying.
Yeah, what happens if they do go over budget?
We can't go over
They
budget.
can't.
I can't go.
They can't, okay.
It's the CMA.
Yeah, when you give them that kind of money to build something, I don't know why we gotta give them a little extra. That's just my opinion.
But they could go under budget.
Yep.
And there's more incentive to go under budget if they're going to get something back on it.
Put any credit.
There's two ways to look at it.
I'm sorry, but I'm a little confused. I've worked on large projects, similar to the jail, but in another industry. And, headed them as well as worked with them, and contingency to me is always built in for cost overruns. Change orders, which are, cost overruns and change orders are gonna happen. That's a guarantee. So you put money aside for the normal budget to cover those, to stay within your budget. It's not a tip, it's to make sure you meet your budget. That was the way we always did it. I thought that was the normal business way of doing it. So and 10%, 15% is where we always put money. And that was in the budget, in the debt service. It was used in construction, but there's change orders and there's gonna be cost overruns guaranteed. You're gonna run into something that's gonna balloon your budget.
Okay. And I agree, I sit on the water board and a lot of their projects, whatever, there's a contingency all the time, but it's never about. You know, paying them extra, it's if the project overrun or, you know, like you said, this switches or we find out something that happened and we gotta do this. That's what that contingency is.
Weather is your biggest,
Yep, yep. So,
you get 10-inch rain when you do.
There's a difference between the contingency fund and the contingency bonus,
yeah,
and that's where I'm.
yeah. So what's your feelings? Wanna take a vote on it?
Can you push, I mean, just say everything's moves along just perfectly. And they only use a couple $100,000 out of that contingency fund, can you put a percentage on it with a cap? And, I mean, because if you're looking at $800,000 left in there versus $300,000 at whatever percentage, it's double the money, right? Is it something you do with a percentage and a cap if you're even willing to pursue it?
We can do anything we want, I imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm comfortable with making the decision until we get some more information on this. That's what Grand Forks See if they're-
Yeah, maybe if we know of any other big projects that they've done. Like I said, I know the water board, what they do. That's, whether you call it project overrun or underrun, but that's.
Oh, Bob would have some information too, I'm sure.
But the water board doesn't give them a percentage if there's left of the contingency.
Well, when they figure, let's say they get a bid on something. That bid is they figure, let's say 10%, and that's, I think, pretty much the number they've used. They'll take 10% of that project, put it contingency. And then if it's up and over or above, or just, they can work either way.
Right, but if there's anything left in that, that's what she's talking about, that 10%, that goes back
That
to
goes back to the water.
water board, right, so that's zero for them.
Jason?
The same goes for our bridge projects. It's just, when we do a bridge, there's a contingency for it, but we try and hold it to that portion with KLJ, we're gonna be spot on where we haven't really had to worry about it too much. There's always little things that come up. KLJ doesn't get a bonus for that, the contractors don't get a bonus for that. The differences with those are is we're running the projects, not another company between them.
Oh,
I think, Kelly, you mentioned that Elevada said this wasn't necessary, isn't that what you said?
That is what they said, yes. The 100% contingency is the county's money budgeted into the GMP that would be used or controlled by the CM for various reasons. He believes that the county should probably get the 100% of the balance of the contingency back, but he understands the opinion of the 10% of the balance of the contingency does motivate them to control the expenditure of the contingency. Ultimately, it's our decision.
So I guess that's, you had brought up what Elevada will think, and I just, for clarification, I don't think I would support this, but I'm all for getting more information, I guess, if that's what
okay,
you.
you wanted to come back with some more? I don't know if we need any more, but,
Should be able to get some from Grand Forks and Elevada's both.
okay.
I don't think it's on county to do that. We gotta get more information.
You could,
Mr. Chairman, do we wanna hold this contract signing up another 2 weeks to basically talk to Grand Forks, because we already have Elevada's decision.
True.
I don't think I need any information. I can say no on it right now.
My plan would be to reach out to them and, tell them no contingency, and we can go from there. I have a few things I need changed in the contract otherwise too that I, am able to just. Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we do 0% contingency.
Do I have a
bonus
second?
or extra.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second that we do zero contingency. All those in favor, Paul,
Yes.
Christie,
Yes.
Danny,
Yes.
Amy,
Yes.
myself, yes, motion carries.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jane.
These contracts are coming back, what is that?
They're coming, well, I'm sorry.
The contracts that you had sent to us, are those coming back for approval or for those?
No, not necessarily, because it's already been approved. Usually those contracts go to me for approval and I,
Okay,
along with, I may see direction from other people, but
this was all you needed from us.
yes, so then what'll happen is Chairman Barter will be asked to sign the contract,
Thank you.
if that's okay with everybody.
I just wanted some clarification.
That's usually how I address the contracts with the time.
Well, it's time for our public comment period. As required by North Dakota Century Code effective on 8/1/2025.
Did you? Wasn't there another agenda item? Yeah, if he wants to.
I'm gonna do it because it's 10:20.
Okay, sorry.
I'll start all over. As required by North Dakota Century Code effective 8/1/2025. On Senate Bill 2180, speaker shall submit a speaker card with name, address, and agenda item for this agenda. Or the previous meeting's agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes. And according to law, we gotta hold it to 3 minutes and there's no comments afterwards. Whether we like it or not, we're going by law and that's what we're gonna do, so. First public comment, Craig Greener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. get to continue discussion of your favorite topic. I believe there is a need for a new jail. I've toured the jail with Sheriff Ron and see the deterioration of the facility. There's a need for an update. How it got to this condition is a debate for another day or a topic for another day. Prior to the vote of the two measures, the commission held information meetings, provided a website that allowed us to estimate the impact you'll have on our property taxes. And we were told that the information meeting that both these measures had to pass for the jail to move forward. Sense of both, the sense of the public is that this commission will push through a project regardless of that. Understanding that there's been discussion on the commission meeting several times, I think comment was made last meeting 5-7 years. This has been kicked around. On how to proceed with the jail, not everyone attends these meetings and watches YouTube, or I'm sorry, not even reads the paper. I think I would urge this commission to hold some information meetings, similar to what you did prior to this vote. The public needs to know, and points that, I'll just go through some points that I think are being talked about in the public that are right or wrong. I guess I go back to that Norman Rockwell picture of one person whispers in somebody's ear and it goes all the way around. And you commissioners are very good at answering questions one-on-one. I don't think I've ever been refused a phone call or have been called back. But that's one-on-one. And then where it goes from there, you know, who knows what's added and what is deleted. And coffee shop, street talk tends to get out of hand. So I think public information meetings, and I'm not talking a tremendous amount, but every now and then the pulse of the people need to be heard or be told what's going on. Public needs to know the clear cost projections. 46 bed jail, 23 million, is that possible? Is the 23 million the top? I mean, if it comes in at 30 mil, do we then build only a 20 bed jail? Or how does that work? A lot of people ask that question. And I think the discussion about contingency would have had, I just added that in here in my notes to talk. And like I said, when we did projects similar, I mean, that was always like for cost overruns and whatever. You dig a hole up there, you're gonna get a 10-inch drain, it's a guarantee. And you're gonna delay your project and other costs are gonna come in. Plans for staffing is something I really hear a lot of people talking about. How are we gonna staff this jail? They talk about Grand Forks, they talk about other things. And is there a difference between a 25 bed jail and a 46 bed jail as far as staff? I mean, is it or not? I mean, I know a lot of electronics, a lot of things are being used today. It doesn't have to be, you know, people, heck, could be robots in 5 years, who knows? But what is the difference in the staffing? And how are we gonna find that staff and comparable staff? What's the training? The turnover rate on your first year is gonna be 50%, you gotta guarantee that. And so how do you replace that first 50%? You know, where's the workforce gonna come?
Greg, I gotta shut you down, it's 3 minutes.
Is it 3 minutes already?
Yep,
Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't have any control over this.
I didn't think it was. Can I say one more thing?
Then now we could get in trouble, because if I let you talk, then the next one, according to Century Code, I gotta stop it at 3, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just want to steal one headline from Todd's editorial, that citizens deserve their picture. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lloyd Thompson?
Well, I feel blessed to be able to be at this meeting. I really came to ask you to build a safe jail that fits the size of Wolf County. We don't have the population of 46 beds. But now that I found out that we don't need property tax and we only need 0.25% to pay for a jail, and we have a bunch of money, we can do it. I'm just amazed at your physical or your financial abilities. As a landowner, I'm here to ask for a property tax relief. If you got so much money, please give it back to us.
Thank you, Lloyd. We try to be, I guess I shouldn't call him either. Jay?
Good morning, everyone. Jay Gadius, Rural Minto. I'm here today to respectfully ask you to stop pushing forward with the construction of the new jail against the clear will of the citizens of Walsh County. It's apparent that this project is being rushed just from the statement of how soon can we get funds. According to our sheriff's department, Walsh County spent roughly $145,000 transporting inmates in 25. And while that's significant, it's only about a third of what taxpayers might pay in interest alone on a 2% note. So maybe we need to buy transportation instead. Our government can follow every letter of the law and still ignore the voice of its people, and I believe that's exactly what's happening here. Before the vote last fall, this commission was clear, without the passage of both measures, a new jail could not be built. The voters acted on that information, and now despite the outcome, you're proceeding anyway. That is not only confusing, it is damaging to public trust. What is legal is not always what is wanted, and what is wanted is not always what is heard. I'm asking you to take a step back and adopt a more measured, responsible approach. If a new jail truly necessary, then the public deserves to see a complete plan, a plan for maintenance and operations, a plan for staffing. It's evident the citizens cannot, it's evident to the citizens that we cannot adequately staff the jail we already have. And building a larger facility without addressing this reality only compounds the problem. Legality measures power and legitimacy measures trust, and our government can possess the first while losing the second. And this commission has failed to operate transparently. We have been told there is extensive data from the Sound Mills Group to justify the project, yet the clearest takeaway I've heard is that they didn't recommend building a 20-something bed jail. That to me prompted serious reconsideration, as that may mean maybe we shouldn't build 46 either then. Lawful doesn't always mean rightful. While the state's attorney may have provided you with a legal path forward, you were not elected to represent legal options, you were elected to represent the people. And by leaning on a legal technicality, you are signaling to voters that their hard-earned money and their express decision matter less than pushing through a project that we cannot afford to staff or maintain. A government can stand firmly on the law while standing far from its citizens. And the people voted by your own statements, by your own instructions prior to that vote. This jail should not be moving forward. I urge you to listen, slow down, be transparent, and respect the will of the people you were elected to serve. In summary, we need a jail. You may get it built. But how will you fund the operations and maintenance? What plan do you have? You have 3.9 million carryover. Maybe you could fix some bridges instead. Or maybe hire an administrator. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's the end of our comment period. I guess in closing, I'm gonna make the last comment. I've been here 19 years. Through all the years, I think the commission has been pretty frugal. They've made some hard choices, but some strong choices. And through the last couple of weeks, I think all of us, we've got a bunch of emails, contacts and everything else. It's been hard, me especially, heartburn, that most of them, the negative, in fact, all of my negative is sort of around drafting. And I look back as I'm a commissioner and I look at the projects that we either tax exempt or whatever. Marvin's a lot of those. County supported that. I look at the project up north of town, your diversion. County closed the bridge. And I got a lot of shit over that. So, and I look at the JDA, every year we put money into businesses and everything else. So it's just hard for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but once when we ask the city of Grafton, and most of it's coming from here, because I talked to Park River and they don't like it, but they see why we're moving forward. We don't get any support. That bothers me. I think the county is deserving of support. We only have, and now you saw today the funds, the cost of it's gonna go down or whatever. And I just hope we can move forward with it, because if you look at the money we're saving, and yeah, it's the wrong time, but we've already did some scenarios. You want to pay 52 million in transport prisoners, and I'll really say, I think our cops on the road are hurting us to, who wants to come to Walsh County? I'm gonna be on the road all the time. Last Monday, I don't know if you heard it, we had six patrolmen on the road transporting prisoners. Where was our safety? So stop and think about this when you get done, safety and everything else. So I guess I'm just urging you to think about it. I know you've got an opinion. I don't agree with it. I feel pretty comfortable moving forward with the jail, and I'm not speaking for everybody else. But I think it's time, because down the run, every year we delay it, it's another 2 million. And I just don't see any more funding coming, whether it's state, granted, state had come in, but now the oil's way down. So we're gonna get chopped on our roads and bridges. So I guess that's just where I'm coming from. So Paul, make it short.
Ernie, I just wanna clarify something, there's a difference between the city of Grafton and the citizens of Grafton, and it's the city of Grafton. When I say the city of Grafton, I'm talking about the mayor and the city council. It's the city of Grafton that asked you to close a bridge. It's the city of Grafton that asked you to give a property tax exemption. The city of Grafton has not taken a position on this jail, ever. It is the citizens of Grafton that are pushing back, and they're two different things, and to commingle them, I don't think is an accurate.
But some of the projects involved a lot of citizens, that's why I'm using both. Yeah, I wish the Grafton City would take a stance. Yeah, let's just close it with that. So. Tanya, or who we have next now? Tanya, you wanna come back on the administrator?
Morning again.
Marty,
I'll let you go. So, you may recall that as a commission, you asked me to gather some market data related to the county administrator. So that's what I have in front of you right now. I'll explain what you're looking at and then we can discuss, or you can discuss. So, the North Dakota Association of Counties reports 5 county administrators in the state of North Dakota. I will note that their data right now is currently in the process of being updated, so all counties have been asked to, put in the data for 2026, so this is 2025, okay? But I list them all there for you, and the data that we get for those positions, it provides years of service, things like that, and also the population of those counties, all of that. The average of those budgeted salaries for those 5 county administrators is listed there, just under 133,000, and they have an average years of service of 12. I also pulled the North Dakota League of Cities has information, so that's the box that you see on the left. That is the city administrator pay. Obviously, both with the county and the city, a lot of these are not in our league, right? Like we can all acknowledge that I mean, Cass County and the city of Bismarck, those things, they're not variables to us, right? But I'm giving you the big picture at least so that we have some perspective. Ironically, the average for the city administrator also was right, almost exactly the same, just under 133,000, 132.5 basically. The most recent data available from the League of Cities was 2024. So again, we don't have access to current actual data without reaching out to each individual entity. I provided on the right-hand side a box for the, our current ranges, just for reference in the county, what are some of our, positions that have higher pay ranges are, so just that you have that. Looking at the top data from the county, you may recall when we did market surveys this most recent year, we included Grand Forks County, knowing that they geographically are so close to us. But we're not maybe 100% apples to apples, so we took their numbers at 90% when we looked at our market data for this most recent market survey, when we were working on 2026 budget. So looking at that information and also applying a prorated percentage to the other numbers that are provided at the top. For example, Cass County, I took that number at 75% because we're just not on the same level playing field, right? Same with Williams, I think I did 80% for theirs, the others, I think I took at face value. You'll notice, at the top again, backing up for just a second, under position title, some of those counties are utilizing that position as like a dual purpose role, right? In like McKenzie County, for example, they're also the ag export director, odd things like that, right, are kind of combined with it. So I also pulled North Dakota Job Service data, that also is 2024 information because they put out the new data for the previous year, typically in April, so this April we'll have 2025 data. If you look at the pages to follow, that's the data from Job Service that I utilized, okay? Or that I looked at least, okay? So they have chief executives and general and operations managers. I don't know if you've ever looked at this data or how it's set up, but they have the metro areas. And then they also they split it into East Region and West Region, non-metro. Plus they split us into regions across the whole state. we fall into region 4, okay, geographically, that's where we fall into. So that's the region that we would look at. If you're looking at, chief executives, region 4, it's hard to feel like we're in that ballpark, honestly, I felt like that was pretty extreme numbers. And then the last page, general and operations managers, region 4, that maybe looks like it's maybe more in our ballpark, right? Like the average there, if you look at the very first column, average under region 4 is 111, right? 111,000. So I used the county data, I came up with a proposed pay scale at the bottom of the first page as like a draft for discussion purposes, okay? So this is gonna fall. You can see how that's what this is at the very bottom, okay? So, you can see how that compares to the other positions in the county, and you can see how position compares to all the other data I provided, so. Do you guys have any questions on how I arrived at any of this, or any feedback for me, or any of the above?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
so this is straight salary then, this does not include benefits?
Correct, this would just be a line added to our pay scale, right? Yeah, this is just strict salary, so you can, benefits of course range depending on what they choose, but, when we look at health insurance plan and all of that is kind of standard, and I can get that to you pretty easily, but yeah, I did not include that in this number, right? Yeah.
Well, have you done any work on a job description at all?
Yes, and I driving here this morning, I thought I didn't print that out for you. I'll email it to all of you guys. I can even bring it back up. I have a job description drafted. So I apologize, that's not in your packets. I fully intended for it to be.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify too, you have the Walsh County pay ranges, those do not include benefits either.
Right, yep. So we're apples to apples there. Yep.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
So would you estimate 175 with benefits? What would you ballpark?
Well, I mean, it depends on where you land on the scale, right? So I
I'd
guess.
say middle of the line.
So if you landed middle of the range, that's how, just to explain that briefly, I guess too. Do you guys remember how we come up with these scales in the first place? That we use that average, like a market average, and it lands in the middle of our scale, right? So the average that you see on number 10 here, that 114, I arrived at that number using all the county data that I talked about, plus the job service data. That's how we get to those numbers, right? And then we build our scale outside of that. So that's where that number comes from. So you could figure about another 40% on top of that, roughly. So 1.4 of that, 1.5 even, depending on, Got me, do math, or. 171 is 1.5, so just for clarity. At the step 10, yep, at the step 10.
So that's what we need to find in our budget.
1.4%, so 40% higher is about 160, so just for conversational purposes, yeah.
Any other questions for Diane? I wanna look at this for a while.
Yep, I'll share the job description with all of you as well, and I would welcome, it's a draft, obviously, so I would welcome anyone's feedback on that as well, so.
Well, yeah, I like the idea of waiting, we can see the job description and have some time to analyze.
Some time to
it
ponder.
a little bit.
If you have questions on any of this, please reach out to me, I'm happy to, talk it through further if there's any questions.
Any?
Good to point out, Andrew Stowe was involved in a conversation with some people from Williams County last week. They've got 149 million in their general fund.
Well, and I love that Association of Counties started doing this, because if you pull the data, they share now the total staffing levels and the taxable value, which I think is, from my perspective, it was super helpful, because I can look at a county on the western side of the state that's similar to us in population, which is that's all we used to have was population, right? So we would handpick the ones that are similar, but there's some that are in a completely different ballpark, right? Because of, they have oil money or whatever it might be. So I did start including that, and that's why I gave you all that same data as well, because all the counties, I mean, it's just safe to say all those counties, they are in a different situation in terms of their taxable valuation and the dollars that they have available, but you just have all the data that I was looking at, so you guys can ponder it and And
But to be clear, so in the state of North Dakota, only 5 counties have a county administrator.
that's what North Dakota Association of Counties is reporting.
And 2 of them are big counties, Cass, Grand Forks, and the other 3 are oil counties, correct? I believe.
Mackenzie, Stark and Williams, probably, I feel like, I wouldn't. Not gonna go on record saying for
Right.
sure, but yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure they're all, pretty sure they're all oil counties.
I guess what I would like to look at, I'm sorry, so I can finish. I guess one thing I'd like to look at is, a 5-year budget on how we would afford another, say roughly 170,000 out of our general budget, our 60 mills, no carryover. Because I do not feel carryover is sustainable to pay a salary on. So just out of our 60 mills that we're allowed to use for general budget for an annual operating every year. Where do we pull the extra 170,000 from? And in that 5-year budget, I'd like to see, increasing health insurance costs because we know our health insurance will continue to increase. I'd like to see, I wanna be able to keep giving our employees pay raises and COLAs, that we know is set in stone for the next 5 years. And then on top of that, the 3% cap. So basically, we have to rob Peter to pay Paul to come up with this money. So what department are you gonna take it from? Or departments? I guess that's just my thought. So I'd just like to see a plan for it. And we can wait until after we get the job description, but that's something I would like to see before we ever move forward.
I mean,
Mr. Char, and I'll be working on this with Tanya for our next meeting, but I also think we need to be thinking that we're not staying in the same bucket to pull when you're talking about Rob Peter, because we have had an immense amount of turnover. So we also have to look at the amount of money that realistically we feel over 5 to 10 years when we have people leave as often as they have, that's also a piece to this puzzle. It's not just about take here, give there. It is, we lose on average $18,000 per employee that leaves in that first year. That, when we have people that have a lot of experience, that is probably 3 times the amount. So efficiencies, I understand that there's more money in other counties. I don't think that changes the part of working with our people and our employees and doing that well. I also want to say that whether or not this could work for Walsh, but I did read in a state, or I don't know if anyone else saw it, but our Walsh County, or our county, excuse me, puts out that newspaper. And they actually were talking, had an article on semi-retired county administrators that were utilized. So it was more looking at, instead of someone coming in new, people that have been there before, done this, have the experience for it. I understand that may not change costs or anything, but it's just a different way to look at it. Is it something that could work for Walsh if we looked at it that way? Whether we have applicants, it's just looking a little outside the box on that.
any other questions? Well, thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
Tanya.
Thank you.
Are you gonna email that to us?
Yep, I will do that.
I think we told it, that we didn't. Oh, no, I didn't. General, the county township general fund balance. Something that we have to sign every year.
Yep, it's new in the legislature this year, so we just need to certify their general fund balances.
I don't know if that-
Oh, for the townships, is this what we're
Yes,
talking
this-
about?
Yeah,
This thing,
Why the,
cause I didn't receive balances from those townships.
so we can certify without?
I mean, we need to, it needs to be done by March 1st.
I got a motion to move forward with. Signing this. Letter that we approve the funding balance. For the townships.
I guess I would move to approve this.
Do I have a second?
You're sending this to the state?
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second that we approve this. So,
Discussion.
yep.
What happens to the townships that didn't?
Yeah. Does that have any?
We're probably not gonna get funding. I got a deadline too. Jason, could you answer that?
Yeah, what's gonna happen for the people that didn't submit their time, we've been asking for it for a while, I called people, sending emails to the townships. This is all part of the legislation that came through where the townships have to have some skin in the game. So they need to have every year, we're required to certify what their balances have been by as of December 31st. that calculation along with what they have in their general fund budget. That's, whatever their mills are, will, let's determine if they're eligible for other funding. Credit funds or other grants.
Well, you could probably make a motion to approve it and add the township's balances if they get it to me before March first.
You being here in the township, Felicia, you wanna contact them two townships and make sure they get back to us?
I've been calling them.
Okay.
Again.
And how long you been calling them?
December, we started.
Well, they've had time, that's for sure.
And so the grassroots program that they're all going to, let's say, as in September, it's putting in notices and asking for them.
Do they just don't wanna do it or what?
I just,
We're busy.
So, Mr. Chair, I mean, worst case scenario, if they wanted to do a project, the answer would be no, if you don't have this. From a township perspective.
They can do it, they can put in for a project, they can do whatever projects they want, they might just not get state funding.
Right.
Do you wanna make a motion that we move forward with this so we can get it in and contact them too and just contact them once and tell them we're moving forward? They don't have time.
By March 1.
Yep.
You can amend my motion to.
Yeah.
You comfortable with that? All right, second, so let's, we'll vote on approving the general fund balance. Numbers for the office of the state treasurer, all those in favor? Paul,
Yes.
Christie?
Yes.
Jenny? Yes. Amy?
Yes.
Me? Yes. Carried. I think we're done, aren't we? Well, I think that,
I think we are.
yeah, I think that's, all that's on our agenda and everything else. I'd like to thank everybody for coming and sharing your concerns. It's a big deal and, you know, hopefully if we move forward, we're doing the right thing and hopefully if we don't move forward, we're doing the wrong thing, so. Meeting's adjourned.